Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Nerd Pod Generations episode 50.
Big 5-0.
Big 5-0, sir. I can't believe it. We've actually made it. It's almost
a
full year's worth of content.
I know.
It's amazing.
I know. You could listen to this and learn so much in that year.
Oh my God, so much.
So many important things.
Absolute things.
Yes.
Now, today what you're going to learn is what two idiots do when they hit a milestone.
Yes.
We are not of our right mind right now. Let's just say that.
We're working our way up the mountain. Hello, friends and enemies.
Yeah, this is Al Judson, or this is Steve Taylor. That's Al Judson.
Yes.
See, I told you. Slightly altered. So what we're doing today is we're going to be doing a Let's Play of Spider-Man on PlayStation 4.
Yep. Which,
while it is going on, if you are listening to this as a podcast, we are going to be talking about kind of what's going on, but then also nerd stuff. Like, we still have to talk about Halo Episode 3, Moon Knight Episode 3, and Picard Episode 6. We're going to talk about those. I'm going to talk about a movie that I thought about the other day that I wanted to talk about during the show, which I think I mentioned to you, which was Grandma's Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about that. And then we're just going to have some fun.
Yeah. I'm going to start out with what I'm watching, reading, and playing, because I'm literally watching and playing currently my favorite opening to a Spider-Man story ever. This is by far the most perfect entrance into the Spider-Man lore. We have so many little things that we learn in just one pass of the camera. And there's no...
His parents are super spies?
I know, right?
They jumped out of a plane?
Yeah. He has an Uncle Ben? What?
No! There's a Norman Osborn.
The first image of any human we see in this is Uncle Ben?
No.
As a picture? That can't be right. But no, this is by far... I was playing this yesterday, getting ready, and I was just struck once again at how beautiful and perfect this entrance is. Because it tells you everything about this Peter, and it shows us a Peter Parker that we haven't seen in the movies, which is an experienced Peter Parker, who knows what he's doing, who's been doing this for a while. Even Tobey Maguire, I think we only get 5 years out. This guy's 8 years into being Spider-Man.
So yes, so this is going to be for the next, once again, we're going to kind of edit the audio one down to its normal runtime probably.
Yeah.
But now...
We have to answer a salient question, though.
What's that?
A very important one. And that is going to be, what do you want to wear? Because we got options, my friend.
We are looking at options right now of Spider-Man costumes, and there's one that there's no shirt.
There is one that there's no
naked?
shirt. He's just in his undie pants.
That is disturbing. I don't like Spidey undie pants. How about we go over a little bit? One more.
The comic book?
Yes. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, I figure we can talk about this now. What have I been watching, reading, playing? I haven't been playing anything. I haven't really been reading anything. Mm-hmm. I have been trying to watch older movies, movies that I own that I haven't seen in a while, and one of them I was talking to you about was Grandma's Boy.
Yes.
And for those of you who are on Xbox or know me from Xbox, my tag is Graybush, which for those of you who have seen the movie Grandma's Boy, it is about these video game testers, and one of them is an older gentleman who, when I say older, I think he's like in his mid-30s.
Yeah. And
they refer to him as Graybush, and I absolutely love that. But it's from the gang who are pretty much all the B actors in Adam Sandler movies, all of like the character actors. This is them kind of doing their own movie. And it's the best product out of Happy Madison Productions probably ever.
See, I thought this was one of the what's it called? The people that did Beer Fest and
Broken Lizard?
Broken Lizard.
No.
I thought it was.
No, this is from the Adam Sandler crew.
Wow.
Even though Broken Lizard, we'll have to do a show about them sometimes because I love most of their movies. This is all the Adam Sandler guys. In fact, the lead character in it is played by the guy who plays his caddy in Happy Gilmore.
No kidding.
The bum who's taking a bath, in the pond. But it follows this guy who he gets kicked out of his apartment in the beginning of the movie, and he has to move in with his grandma. Mm-hmm. And pretty much I mean, obviously there's the title, but it's your basic gross out comedy where they have, they're always high. The grandmas eat weed and her two roommates, and so of course they're old people high.
I think I've seen that. I think I've seen that scene.
But what makes it great is it's probably the nerdiest movie I have ever seen, and it has the characters are all fantastic. It has unforgettable lines. Like there's a part where he gets so baked that he's sitting next to an actual monkey, and he looks at him and says, "Don't judge me, monkey." And so I say that all the time because I absolutely love that. Don't judge me, monkey.
That's brilliant.
And it's just it has this great. It's a stoner movie and a gamer movie all in one.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, obviously a very good combination. But I absolutely loved it. And I feel bad that it's actually been quite a few years since I've seen it. It's one of those films where I think when I first got it, I watched it like every week for a month. And then I put it into my binder, and I haven't seen it since.
Yeah. That's why I love going through the library of digital stuff and whatever, because you get to explore and see all these old friends that you haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
I should probably get out of the fire. But yeah, and it stars the ever unlikely Mrs. Hawkeye.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Linda Cardellini.
Who I make fun of only because it is still, I'm not going to go into it, but it's the ever unlikely Mrs. Hawkeye.
Yeah. I mean, when this movie came out, I think she was still Velma in most people's eyes.
Yeah, I was about to say Scooby-Doo and then Freaks and Geeks.
I loved Freaks and Geeks. It was such a great show. But yeah, so for those of you who have not seen it, Grandma's Boy, highly recommend. It's going to be probably the stupidest movie you've seen all year, but it's a good stupid movie. And I think that's what makes it the most enjoyable.
Yes, always. That's how I feel about Get 'Em to the Greek.
Oh, I love that movie.
What's Forgetting Sarah Marshall? I was just thinking about Russell Brand because I did. It's on YouTube now.
Yeah.
A review for Death on the Nile.
I gotta watch that.
And it was pretty good. I liked it. It was, if you've seen Murder on the Orient Express, it's very similar to that. Which makes sense because it's a sequel to that. But Russell Brand is in that, and he plays like this reserved doctor who's not in any way Russell Brand. And it's just like, when I think of Russell Brand, I think of hijinks as like his main thing.
It's kind of like when Sacha Baron Cohen does any kind of serious role.
I was about to say, he's like a dirtier Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah.
And Sacha Baron Cohen is just mildly offensive to everybody.
See, I loved Get Him to the Greek.
Yes.
I didn't love Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Really? I rewatched that recently. It's good.
It had some funny moments, but to me, it seemed like they were like, okay, we have this funny idea of showing the main character's dick.
I was about to ask you if that's where they lost you.
I think we need to make this movie around... No, and now, mind you, I'm not saying anything negative about showing schlongs in comedic movies. You know, you can't remember Porky's without remembering there's just as much Shaft as there was anything else.
Yeah.
But this seemed like a forced thing to make more of a name for the movie.
Yeah, it definitely became the running gag of the movie.
Yes.
And I love Jason Segel. I'll give it to him because it's him, and he plays it off in this, like, it's not clever, but it is effective.
Yeah.
How he handles it, where it's always embarrassing.
Yes.
It's never like, hey, take a look at my dick. It's like, it's always embarrassing. It's always at the worst possible moment or the worst moment in this character's life. But I think Mila Kunis is really funny in that. And it has a young Kristen Bell playing, not a huge role, but a fun role.
Yeah, she's the Sarah Marshall.
She is the titular Sarah Marshall. But
yeah, like I said, I don't dislike the movie.
Yeah.
I just thought Get Him to the Greek was
superior.
Yeah.
Which,
a lot of it goes to Jonah Hill, who did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, he has a nothing role in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and then he has a great role in Get Him to the Greek.
Yeah.
which also has Elizabeth Moss in it, weirdly enough. She's so known for Handmaid's Tale and whatnot.
Right.
She plays the zombied nurse that he's dating and cheats on.
Yes.
And man, I still love that movie. I still think Stroke the Furry Wall every once in a while. And God, I will always love it, especially because Jonah Hill looks eerily like my old roommate. And so it's always been an inside joke to us how much they look the same and at times act the same when they're under the influence. And yeah, I just love that movie. I want to watch it again soon. Yeah. I want to watch the unrated version. I've never seen the unrated version. So I definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that one. I think I just saw the unrated.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That was a good flip.
Right? Bash
so now,
and crash.
Sorry, folks. I'm eating another licorice. I thought the story was going to go on longer. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
I'm fat. We got to talk about Halo.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That was...
Could you get any... I thought you couldn't get worse on episode 2 until I saw episode
How about
3.
we just don't have him in costume at all for any part of the whole fucking show. He's in costume at the very end, and it's... Oh, that was my issue with this episode. So let's talk about the fact that Master Chief doesn't actually act as Master Chief at all in this episode.
No. In the series.
In the series in general. That is just getting frustrating at this point. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, so are we just going to blow this off all the time, or are we going to do it sometimes? Is he going to be Master Chief again at the very end of the season? Are we going to get any more battles? This is getting really boring. They're grounding it in these characters I don't care about and which aren't well-rounded. They're just these two-dimensional, generic characters. And then you have the Cortana of it all, which I think was the coup de grace to this episode. The fact that you had so much setup. We had 2 full episodes of setup about how controversial the Cortana thing is going to be. And then it's like this little bloop, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nothing. It's like, oh, this woman cloned herself and is going to kill the clone. And all of this means nothing to any of us because why do they need to kill a clone in order to make Cortana an AI? It makes no sense. It's stupid. And it's just like, you could have just had Cortana be the AI. You didn't need to do all this, man. All you needed to do was have her be introduced as Master Chief's AI.
Yeah.
And I got to the end of that scene, and I was just like, so that meant nothing. That 2 episodes of this nonsense, maybe it'll come back up, but even if it does, I don't care, because it's supposed to just make it so that the Doctor seems more extreme. But I don't care about the Doctor, and we've already been told that the Doctor's extreme by like 9 people. You know, it's bad writing on top of bad acting, and it just, I was not impressed.
I think that was the biggest standout for me. The dialogue at times, I kind of paused and looked at the TV. It was like, did I just hear what I heard?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I haven't really seen anything I've written since I was 5 years old. But I'm assuming I wrote what they were saying in that show.
There were so many... So the scene where the daughter of the Doctor, Dr. Halsey's daughter, the scene where she's finally given access, I was just like, so what the fuck was the scene in the last episode where she went to the same person and said, hey, can I get access?
Yeah.
And that person was just like, ugh. So now you start out with her getting at... What is the point of any of this?
There is
this
no
is
point.
Stupid and pointless.
They are... This is what I assumed happened, is each episode, they wrote it after they had forgotten what had happened in the second episode.
Yeah.
And were trying really hard to remember. And then they write it, and then they go back, and then the episode after that, they have to try to put the pieces back together, and it's insane. Like, there's no rhyme nor reason to anything.
It almost seems like they have an idea, and they're like, no, that's too easy, we need to make it difficult. But they don't do anything to make it difficult.
Yeah.
They just have it be a mild inconvenience.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, but now blah, blah, blah is going to happen. And it's just like, you
like
remember...
How long was Master Chief in prison?
Yeah.
1 minute?
1 minute.
Of the show.
And how many times did they tell us that Quan was the lone survivor of the camp? How many times did they tell us that? How many times did they tell us that? And then now there's going to be a resistance movement that she knows is there. What are you talking about? The entire town died. So forget about this regime that came in. I don't know jack shit about that.
It's going to be some long-lost relative.
It's just so bad. The writing is so terrible, and there's just so many moments where I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. You gotta be freaking kidding me, man. This is what I'm spending my time on? This is what you come to me with for a Halo show? And we finally hear about Reach, and so we know that they're gonna do something with it. But, like, what is happening here, man? I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go, in the sense that I hope it gets better. It can't get much worse. But as we saw, even the other Spartans don't wear their armor anymore. Yeah. So it's just like, so what the fuck is going on? I always thought of Spartans as like these ultimate machine men, where they were in stasis until they were needed. And then they were brought out of stasis and sent on their mission. I don't know anything about this human element Spartans. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. I don't buy the mystique of the show. I don't buy the style of the show. And I don't buy the writing.
And really, Halo as a franchise is about two things. The Covenant and the Spartans.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a show where you almost never... literally barely, maybe 2 or 3 minutes have you shown, like, a creature, a Covenant creature.
Yeah. No, they're not in the show. They weren't even in the last episode. They were replaced by worms. Yeah. Weird, giant, slithering earthworms.
Which, that whole thing is such a weird... Like, you're gonna attack them, but you need to pretend...
Until they're in the dock. And like, she wastes no time. I thought it was going to be one of those things where she tried to smuggle her way to a location. Yeah. No. She just needed to get on the ship because she didn't want to blow it up. I guess she wanted to try and check it for information. But that ended up being a nothing anyway, because she said, the information wasn't there. I'm going to go to Madrigal. I don't care. Why do you set this stuff up and immediately distinguish it? It's just pointless.
Poor show running.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. All right, so once again, we thoroughly enjoyed our trashing of Halo that we do every week. And that, there's a big reason why we still watch the show, folks. A, to be able to entertain you by trashing it. And B, because we're massive nerds and we can't help ourselves.
Can't help it.
We have to continue watching.
You have to stare into the sun.
Yes.
And be like... But maybe it gets better. Maybe this isn't a joke after,
I mean, I did that for 5 seasons of Arrow. Like, this is going to get badass.
Yeah.
They'll be like, it's like playing golf. But kind of in the opposite, where you're not enjoying something, but then there's that one moment.
Yeah, something goes right, and you're
something
like,
goes right,
shit.
and you're like, oh, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
And then you keep going back, and it sucks so bad. And then there's that one moment. I gotta keep going back. That was Arrow to me. And that's kind of what Halo is, because we saw that early scenes with Master Chief, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
This has potential. And then, ever since then, it's been pooping on that whole entry.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not impressed by any part of it, and I honestly, if it wasn't for this show, I wouldn't watch it anymore. I would just be like, well, that was bad for 3 episodes, and you lost me on the 3rd one.
Yeah.
This would have been the episode where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time anymore with this show. But I'm going to waste my time with this show for you, lovely friends and enemies.
Yeah. So Halo, poop on you.
Yes.
All right. So now we need to discuss, which I am very happy to say.
Yes.
Picard, episode 6. And this was... Oh, man. It was a frustrating episode with the whole Picard kind of being dead but not dead and like in a trance and...
Fast forward, the flashback and back and forth.
Like,
yeah.
It's like... I don't know. That's the thing that I wasn't blown away with. Because I could kind of see where they're...
I can still see you, right?
I don't know. Because, once again, you have the confusing parts where you're like, okay, is he this android?
Yeah.
Or is he human?
That was really weird to me.
Yeah.
I was like, but we all know he's a android now.
Yeah.
So why are we addressing this as...
He's dying.
Yeah.
Like, that made no sense whatsoever. Because they said his timeline is set at, like, a certain age, he will just die.
Yeah.
Instead of being eternal. And so that kind of, I didn't like that. I did love the Allison Pill
Borg Queen
yeah
stuff. That's
That was
interesting.
awesome.
That's interesting. And I got to give her props. I love Alison Pill.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was her singing. But apparently, according
Is
to
that
the
her?
internet, it's her singing.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
May I put in?
Yes.
Do we know if he's still a Borg or if he's still an android? Because 7 isn't a Borg
Well-
right now.
I think that was the
When they
thing
were
that was
transported.
confusing me also.
Yeah.
But then when he blew up the defibrillator machine because
That's true, but he's not like blood coming out.
Well, that's the problem. Is that why is he?
Yeah.
Why?
No, I'm just.
well the blood thing I'm wondering if that's because I was trying to think back to the first season with
I was gonna say the same to you.
God I can't remember her name now, the android that they were saving in the first one.
Oh,
Data's
Soji.
daughter. Soji, thank you. I think she bled.
Oh, did she?
But I couldn't remember. Like I'm thinking back to the fight in the first episode
Yeah.
where her boyfriend dies and then she gets kind of the crap kicked out of her before she started kicking ass.
Yeah.
And I think in that part there's blood. So I don't know if that he's just one of these advanced synthetics that they do bleed to look more human. But I would have to go back and rewatch. But I was thinking that too, because that also was weirding me out. I'm like, why bleeding? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the Allison Pill parts with the Borg Queen were fantastic.
I'm intrigued to see where they go with that. I don't know. I worry it's going to get formulaic. So we'll see. I hope it doesn't. I hope
Yes.
that now that it's become kind of this, it's not a body swap. It's a body share.
Yes.
Um,
And what I'm wondering if they're going to do is the Borg Queen going to assimilate her into being the new Borg Queen?
That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Is that she's going to be the new Borg Queen?
Because that seems like what's happening is
So, should we kiss
she's
now?
being assimilated from the inside out
Yeah.
by this consciousness that's inside of her. Because she's saying she's because of the Borg Queen-
endorphins.
endorphins. Thank you. She was able to take over a little more.
Yeah.
And so that makes me wonder, is this going to convert into that full
Yeah.
assimilation?
Yeah. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
And I love Alison Pill, so I'll follow this. So far, I'm very much enjoying Picard. I'm glad the gala didn't get too far off track
Yes.
or anything.
Finally off the Rikers,
I really like the scene of him talking to Renee Picard. That was,
Yeah, that was great.
extremely well done. And Peace 2 is just killing it.
Good luck, Willie.
He's just killing
I
it.
gotta say, it was disturbing to me, and Audrey, my wife, agreed on this. The scenes where he is playing dead,
Yeah.
he's at that age now where you're like, that's what he's gonna look like. Like, it kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he looked very dead.
Yeah. He looked no good.
No. Like, if I didn't know that was actually Patrick Stewart, I would think they made some kind of mannequin.
Yeah.
Because it just looked too good. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, there's no way. And then that thing hit me where it's like, he's in that age range where when it happens, it's going to be sad but not surprising.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly why they're shooting season 3 now. Is for that exact reason. And I'm sure he wants to take a little downtime before that happens too.
Yeah, and this is like, I cannot think of a better way to solidify your legacy in pop culture and nerddom than to end your. Once again, this sounds morbid. I don't want it to be, but to end your life on the piece of art you created that you will always be remembered.
Yeah,
and it's like it's the legit cherry on top.
It really is, and the fact that they've pulled off something that you can't easily do, which is a return of a character that's beloved and is fulfilling.
Yes.
There's so many characters that come back years later. Just look at Indiana Jones. They come back years later for a one last hurrah, and it's just a train wreck.
Yeah.
So, like, I really appreciate that this is a legitimately good, compelling show where the writing just sucks you right in, and you just are enamored. It's a Star Trek show, even though the last few episodes haven't had a whole lot of Star Trek energy. I will say, not Laris, the Watcher, spoke some Romulan according to the subtitles I was using while we were watching it, which piqued my interest since she's not supposed to be Romulan. I wonder if there's more to this than we understand.
Could she be a distant ancestor?
Maybe.
Maybe she's doing it with a Romulan and that bloodline.
Maybe. So it's
interesting.
It's interesting. I have no idea if it's going to come up again. It may have just been one of those like flash in the pan kind of things. But and they're doing that thing that we were wondering if they were going to do, the Temptation of Rayos.
Yeah. Like, I hope that just goes away. I really do.
Yeah.
Because once it is as I don't want to use the term as bad, but it's what we thought it was going to be. Yeah. And that's the disappointing thing, because we were hoping it wasn't going to be like that.
Yeah, exactly. We were hoping it wasn't going to be this formulaic kind of thing. Well, which, like, I want to give them credit. I like that she's really angry with everybody.
Yes.
That she had to come in and leave her son, and everything's weird, and this guy that's been acting weird is there, and he's still acting weird.
Yeah.
I liked all that. But yeah, I really wonder how much more they're going to lean into the Temptation of Rayos, and if it's going to be an ongoing thing. Is this going to be like Ice, where it's a flash in the pan? Is that going to come back up?
I'm hoping they're not going to fully steal Star Trek 4 and have somehow her and her kid end up on the ship.
Yeah.
On the flight back. And then they are just in this world now.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what
they
do.
They better not do that. I'm hoping this is just that way to connect him to the present.
Yeah.
And make the present just look horrific. But, I mean, once again, it was another solid episode. It wasn't anything that was completely mind-blowing. It had some great moments. I think they're definitely setting this series up right now for a huge finale to this season. Because it's been a lot of setup.
Yeah.
And it's been great character study. And, I do appreciate when you're not using special effects to tell a story. You can actually tell the story.
Yeah.
In a, even though it's kind of frustrating, it tells a story in a way that, is enjoyable.
No, I agree. I don't think it isn't hitting me as hard as season 1 did, which isn't fair to say because I have the fullness of season 1 to look back on. But, like, And that was a show that I binged all of. We binged that in like 2 days.
Oh yeah.
And because you so generously lent me the Blu-rays.
That's right.
And so it might just be that it's a little more parsed out, and I'm finding it less fulfilling because of that. I'm not finding it bad. I do find myself wanting a little bit more from the writing.
Yeah.
Not a lot more, but just a little bit more. It doesn't feel enough like a Star Trek story to me at times.
Well, let's see how they end it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's going to end with a bang because, once again, we're coming up on, what is it? It's like May 15th or something like that is Strange New Worlds, the next Star Trek series. Which that one, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. So, looking forward to that.
Finished.
All right. So now, unfortunately, can't talk about episode 3 and 4 of Moon Knight because I did not get a chance to watch episode 4 today because of a sick child at home. But episode 3 of Moon Knight has Moon Knight once again having this Gollum Schmeagol back and forth between the two
Let's see if that works.
identities.
Yeah.
And then there is finally Moon Knight
Yes.
in full regalia,
Yes.
running across rooftops. Just wonderfulness.
Yes.
For the prosthetic.
You said you haven't seen episode 3 yet?
No, I saw episode 3.
Yeah,
4
saw
I haven't
episode
seen.
3. Which one did I?
Because
thought there
4
was
was the
only
one
3
that came out
episodes.
today.
I thought there were only 3 episodes, including today's.
No. Was there? No, there's been...
Pretty sure.
Oh, no, you're right. So episode 3 came out today.
Yeah.
God damn it, I can't keep this shit fucking straight.
It's okay. We'll cut this whole segment. It's
No, don't cut this segment. This is part of this. This is the component. This is what episode 50 is.
Yes.
Folks, listen. Episode 50, we always knew was going to be a not fantastic episode. But that's not the point. We wanted to have fun. This is like our way to celebrate 50 episodes. And if you are true fans, you will be enjoying this with us.
Yes.
Because
Oh my
this
God.
is going exactly how I thought it would go.
Yes. No, it's good. I won't spoil anything about the new episode of Moon Knight, but I will say it is a nice continuation. There's some good twists that are coming out now. There's an element of it that's a little wonky to me involving a council.
Okay.
Which there's just the wholeness of that scene. I was just kind of like, okay, is this going to come up again? But ends with a bang. Ends with a motherfucking bang.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Guess we can't talk about Moon Knight.
No, it's all right. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the game that I'm playing. So if you've been watching us along the way on YouTube, you will have seen a hard cut, and I'm probably coming back now. This game, I love it. I love it a lot. However,
I'm an Xbox guy.
yes.
And so I have not played or seen this game. So that was kind of the point of this.
Yes, I love it, but the little mini games you play as Peter, I love the concept because it shows how smart Peter is. That you go and you do all these little mini games and you put together these little components and all these other things. However, they get really boring because they're not hard enough or they're just repetitive. These are the first ones you play, so of course they're really simple. But there's a few elements like that in this game. Of just like when you're not playing as Spider-Man, some of those elements aren't as strong. And I'll fully admit that. I'll take it. I don't care if some of these elements aren't as strong.
Well, that's one of my big problems with a lot of open world games is like any overbloated movie, you need filler.
Yeah.
And a lot of those scenes you're just like, wow, jeez.
Yeah.
You don't need that in a game, but they want people to go online. It took me 70, 80 hours to beat this game.
Yeah.
They want those kind of headlines.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be an element later on. I don't know if we're going to get to it tonight because I don't remember when it unlocks. But you have these little science pods where you do side missions and unlock stuff. Those are they serve the same purpose. They show Peter as this very smart, able-minded guy, and I really deeply appreciate that, especially after it took Tom Holland the better
Butchered
part
it.
of 3.5 movies. Going back to our conversation about No Way Home, we get to see how Jameson is represented in this.
Looks the way he should look.
Yeah, he has a podcast instead of a YouTube channel.
Pretty.
Right? This is a very pretty game.
For an OG PS4. Is that J.K. Simmons' voice?
I don't think so.
No, it's a different actor.
But he does
He does a really good job.
an excellent J. Jonah Jameson.
I love that costume look.
Right?
Oh, it's awesome.
They have a few animated style costumes.
And you'll be singing a different tune when 3 new mobs are lining up to charge you triple for that same pipe. Or just break your
Now,
legs. Goodbye!
all those buildings and shops down below there, you can't walk into them, right?
No.
Okay. What is that?
Yeah, I think this is anime style. My favorite bombastic bagman.
Oh my god.
But they got some good ones. I thought there was another one, but I guess that's it.
Don't they have a leather jacket one?
They do have my favorite leather jacket.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
You have that jacket.
I do have that jacket. Or we can play as Homecoming Spider-Man. The one with training wheels.
Why do I do that?
Anyway, I love the costumes in this game.
So now, I'm assuming there are a plethora of side missions.
There are, and we're about to unlock one of them.
Okay.
Because I'm here to set up the maps.
Because, like, what would you guesstimate a typical, like, completion time of a game?
If you were
Like
just
this.
doing the story mode, I would say probably like 20 hours,
20 hours?
something like that. You're not going to be able to do it I mean, like, you could theoretically do it in one day, but you'd have to, like, speed through it and skip all the side stuff. But I'm sure there are people that are far more capable than I am who know how to skip all these cutscenes and do...
Well, there's a lunatic that just beat Elden Ring in 8 minutes.
Really?
Sweet
You
Jesus.
got a black and white suit?
Yeah. 8 minutes. Yeah, you go to town on those red vines. That's amazing.
Surveillance tech.
Have you seen
It was.
people speed run
Till an hour.
Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, which there was one time I went right for the castle. Did not end well for me.
Tell me
Have you seen people do the crazy thing where they stasis a rock, beat it up, and then climb on the rock so they can catapult themselves?
It's a game that keeps on giving. Greatest video game ever.
Yeah.
Which I am kind of happy that, I know it sounds weird, I'm happy that they delayed Breath of the Wild 2.
Plus, the signals are scrambled and we have no idea how to
'Cause
fix it.
For 5 years, since I was a proud Wii U owner,
Break it, you got it.
I cursed out Nintendo for delaying Breath of the Wild. And then when it finally came out, I was like,
Let's take a look at this.
if
town.
this is what 5, I think it was like 4 or 5 delays of that game. If this is what 4 or 5 delays do, I'm okay with it. And I feel that way about, because I think, as of what I've been reading, is one of the problems people think they're having is it's an insanely ambitious game that is just not running well on the basic Switch. And that they might be waiting for an upgrade to bring it out. But it's like, I don't see Nintendo, who has sold over 100 million of these systems, not putting Breath of the Wild. I mean, they did that with the first one. Put it back on the Wii U.
Yeah, they did. We played it on the Wii U first. We had it...
Yeah, that's right. You guys did.
Yeah.
That's right.
I have way more Koroks on that save file too.
Yeah. We have some really good games on the Wii U.
I had one until it stopped working.
Uh-oh.
And it is virtually impossible to find one of those in a price range that I'm willing to spend. Especially seeing as the Wii U was the obnoxious generation before the current one. The current generation, if you say, sell your Switch, you buy another one, you enter in your information, and all your save, or not your save, yeah, your saves, if you have the cloud saves, all your games can be downloaded, no problem. For the Wii U and every system, and really it's only the Wii U and the 3DS, because they were the only two, I guess the Wii. Say if I lost my 3DS, and I buy a new one, I have to call Nintendo, have them take off the old system, put the new system on,
You're in luck, Yuri.
and then I could download it. And it's this insane, like, 50-step thing.
Detective is in town.
Yeah.
And
You promised you wouldn't do that
I mean, that whole system I think is going away because I know they're shutting off the eShop
Oh yeah.
for the Wii U and the 3DS, but I don't know if that would affect the whole getting your information transferred over.
Back off.
Because if the eShop's closed, you can't go and re-download anything.
No.
Crazy, yo.
That happened to me with the PS3. I had a very large amount of time played on GTA.
Get away
And
from her.
one day I went back to it after not playing for a few months, and it was like, oh, your game's gone. The servers for this are dead. They're gone. They're no longer here.
Wait, which GTA?
5. That was the day I bought GTA 5 for the second time.
That game has been sold more times.
Yeah. Well, they're about to port it again, I think.
They already have.
Oh, they did?
I can never get into the GTA games. I don't know why.
Really?
Like, I don't know. I guess when I want to run around and do things, I would rather do it in like a fantasy world. Like doing it in real life, I'm like, eh. You can only run over so many hookers before you're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this again.
I'm bored.
But like, if you look at like Skyrim, when you run around Skyrim, you find caves with like
I knew Jameson.
ancient novels, which are legit novels that some fucking person wrote much better than I can ever write for a goddamn video game and to be put in a cave that not everyone is gonna
I'm sure
find.
you
I know.
Speaking of games
But
that have
just
been
in
ported a
case,
million
there's a
times.
place
Yeah.
called the Feast
In
of
fact, they got the free upgrade because I have the Series S,
Hands down.
and there's supposed to be a free upgrade. But like something like that game is fun.
Haven't had any.
Even Oblivion. I remember when I got my
I'll
360
check it out.
and played Oblivion for the first time. I was like, holy
Spider
shit!
guy.
Like the level of detail is unbelievable.
Man.
I remember playing Oblivion for the first time, and it overwhelmed me.
Yeah,
Like-
it's truly overwhelming.
I ended up putting away the game because I was just like, I need more structure than this is providing. I went back to Skyrim years later and had a lot of fun playing it, but I always seem to play as lizard men. I don't know what that says about me.
Are you?
I don't want to really know what this is.
No.
There have been two of those moments graphically for me in my video game life
Already regretting that.
that I had like that aha, like this generation deserves to be this generation.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I played Madden on PS2. I had a launch PS2 with Madden. And going from the PS1 and everything below it to what the PS2 was doing, it was like that shock and awe where I was like, holy shit. I can't believe what I'm saying. And then the other one was Oblivion. Going from the PS2 generation. Like those two jumps.
Yeah.
Because as great as the PS2 was, and then when the Xbox with it, because I remember my roommate at the time had an original Xbox, and he had the Elder Scroll Morrowind. And looking at Morrowind, and then looking what they did with Oblivion and the next generation, like, it's insane the difference. Like, Morrowind is incredible. But the graphical, storytelling, everything jump they made in those generations. So really it was going from the PS1 to the PS2 and then from the Xbox to the 360.
Yeah.
And vice versa with all the other ones.
Yeah. I always remember the way Final Fantasy games looked when you went to the PS2
Still
over
there?
the
Got a robbery a few
PS1.
blocks away.
Where like the PS1, you had Final Fantasy VII and all of its blocky glory, and then you had Final Fantasy VIII, which was better, but was still very polygon heavy.
Yeah.
And then you look at Final Fantasy X, and it just looks so good.
You forgot my personal favorite Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy IX.
I didn't play Final Fantasy IX.
Well, what was great about it is they went back to the more like cartoony look for the characters, and that translated far better on
that
the
was-
OG PlayStation.
Yeah, I was about to say that was a regular PlayStation.
Yeah. It was one of the finals. It was a 4-disc game. It was like towards the end of the life.
God. 4-disc games. Oh.
It was so great. I used to love those PS1. Just monstrosities. Like any solid RPG was 3-4 discs.
3-4 discs
Yeah.
at least. My favorite Final Fantasy VIII was the last disc was just the final dungeon. Like that was all it was, and oh god, I love those games.
So good. But I can see what you're saying.
Yeah,
That's usually what you can use that and like the Resident Evil games.
yeah.
All right, Yuri. I'm gonna repair
Because
the
I
wires
remember
around
the
tower now.
first
Don't you mean spider
like
cops?
jaw-dropping moment I had because it was before the PS2 came out. It's when the Dreamcast came out,
Spider Cop.
and they had Code Veronica.
He's no spring chicken.
That opening cinematic
Going where I think you're going.
back in the day was like melt your brain moment. The first time I saw those graphics, I was
Yeah.
like, "Holy crap!" And now you go back and you're like, "Yeah."
I'll drink tonight, Yuri.
But they were always kind of on that cutting edge. The way I know
Yuri, you
5
there?
and 6 were like really pushed the graphical
For a
limits.
moment,
Yeah.
overwhelmed her.
But yeah, Final Fantasy 12, the last one on the PS2, I loved. Because 10 was good.
I like 10 quite a bit.
I liked 10. I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot. I honestly don't even remember when 11 was the online one, right?
Yeah, that was the MMO.
And then 12 was the one that like changed the fight system and everything
Yeah.
with the gambits, which I actually loved.
See, I didn't like that. That's why I didn't like that game. I preferred 10. I mean, like, I like the hurry up and wait fighting style, so you can think. And you know, I love that 10 had the turn bar, so you could see how often you were going to actually get a turn, and you could see just how fast certain characters were compared to others. But I just, something about 10 was so magical. There was something about the storytelling and the style of it that was just great.
Yeah.
And I don't see that in Final Fantasy anymore. I'm going to be a grumpy old man for a second and be like, back in my day. But like back in my day, Final Fantasy was a fantasy thing. It didn't take place on Earth. There weren't Mercedes cars. Like I don't.
Final Fantasy 15, I didn't think was a bad game. But like you said, it's not a Final Fantasy game.
It's not a Final Fantasy game anymore. And like I remember watching Elijah Wood on Conan doing. Have you seen Clueless Gamer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Love Clueless Gamer.
And they were told that it takes like 48 real-time hours to defeat one of the bosses. And it's just like, no. What are you talking about? That's obscene.
It's dumb.
That's just ridiculous. So I bowed out of Final Fantasy. I watched my brother play a lot of 12. I wasn't interested in it because of the fighting style. And then after that, I was just like, I think I'm done. I think I'm done with this. I went off to purchase, and I left childrenish things behind.
All right. The sad thing is the best Final Fantasy games that lately have been Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy on the Switch. Because those are, in reality, Final Fantasy games.
They're as close to it as we're going to get.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, I didn't play the reboot of 7, which I heard is not, like, a clean remaster. It's
No, they
like
cut it into, I think it's 3 pieces and only the first one has come out.
Something like that. And, like, they changed the fighting system and other things. And I'm just like, no, that we waited years. How long were they talking about re-releasing Final Fantasy VII with updated graphics? And it was supposed to just be a clean, straight re-release. But no.
Well, as of what I heard is when, and I remember the PlayStation E3 conference where it was announced and they had the cinematic. And then the head of Sony mentions this Asian gentleman who is the director of it. And they go to the audience and that guy has no idea what they're talking about. And they come to find out he wasn't even asked yet. But it was a Japanese company. It's one of those, we tell you, you're going to do this, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And so he's just sitting in the audience like, hey, and he kind of waved when they mentioned him.
Jesus Christ.
So right there and then you're like, okay, this is not being thought out well.
Yeah. I'm glad I wasn't tied to that in any way, because if I had my hopes up on that, I would be very upset. I would be a very upset nerd. Although, that being said, I haven't played the game. Who knows? Maybe I'll like it more this way than I did originally. I thought the original game was okay. I was not as blown away by it as everybody else. but I think I also played that after I played Final Fantasy VIII. So maybe I just wanted to.
It was one of those things. It was the cultural moment of that time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like GoldenEye.
Yeah.
That game is practically unplayable. And it's like, back in the day, we would spend hours and hours and hours playing it because it was the greatest thing. And now you try to play it with the single thumbstick, and you're like, what is...
Yeah.
I can't do this. I just can't do it. You know, the OG Final Fantasy, same thing.
Yeah. It's always fun playing games that didn't have analog sticks with analog sticks. I was playing because I do love that the Switch does this. I was playing, I think it was the original Super Mario, and man, there's nothing like falling because you're pointing in a direction that the game didn't actually have.
Yeah.
And
I can't play those games with a thumbstick. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Any kind of side-scrolling game, even if it's on, you know, Nintendo or Xbox or whatnot, if it's a side-scrolling platformer and it allows me to use the D-pad, I use the D-pad.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm used to doing, just like you're saying.
I wanted to, but it was so weird. There's something about the placement of it on the Switch controller. The joystick is so much more comfortable to use than the D-pad.
Yes, folks. We are still playing Spider-Man.
We are
I
still
know we
playing.
went on our infamous YouTube tangents, but...
We're on... I think this entire episode is just tangents. Oops, all tangents!
Listen, folks. Tangent it up, baby.
Yeah.
We're having fun. We're eating red vines. Watching Spider-Man's little tushy running around the city.
Oh, my God.
I mean, what's better, man?
We can put on the ultimate... you've heard of the Andrew Garfield's butt
Spider-Man, I think
thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they have that costume. We can go for it.
No.
You don't
I
want
have
to
a
go
fat
that
enough
far?
ass as I keep shoving red vines in my mouth. I don't need any more girth.
We were watching Last Week Tonight,
But now you've got
and
that.
John Oliver called Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man the most emotionally connected Spider-Man of all of them, and I just clapped. I applauded. I was so happy to hear that.
He's so correct.
He's so right. He's so very right.
So I am kind of excited for Switch Sports.
Yeah, that's coming out soon.
It comes out in 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks from this Friday. It comes out.
It's still just the games that... It's like, what, 6 games? 6 games?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna add a couple later.
They announced one they're adding later, which is the golf. That's being added, I think they said at the end of the summer.
I still wish... I know it would just be filler, so it's a weird kind of wish to have. But I still wish that they had a few more games than just the 6 that they're doing. Whereas, like, Wii Sports had a ton of games.
Yeah, Sports Resort had a ton.
Yeah, Sports Resort. But, yeah, even something like Frisbee with the dog. You know, it's like, these kinds of things would be fun to have on the Switch as well.
Yeah. Well, did you ever, since you were a fellow Wii U owner, did you guys have the Wii Sports Club, I think it was called, which was the Wii U version?
I don't know. I think we just had the Wii version.
Because that one was similar to where they started with just like a couple, and then they charged you for the other ones. But this one, supposedly, they're free?
Yeah.
I think they said. At least the first one is, the golf one. So I'm wondering if they're just like, you know, let's get something out and we'll just update it.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping, is that they just add more as they go. It just doesn't sound like they're going to.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's successful, because I think if it absolutely kills, then they're going to, you know, anytime they can sell some of those horrible subscriptions they have.
We have one of those subscriptions.
No, I do too. You have to. I only have the basic, though. I don't have that insanely expensive one to get, as of what I've heard, poorly emulated Nintendo 64 games.
Yeah. I haven't done any of the N64 ones. We have Super Nintendo and the regular Nintendo, and that makes me happy enough. Although I still want to find emulators of, like, non-Nintendo Nintendo games that you'll never see on
Let's see what I
the
can do.
Switch.
Oh yeah.
So like Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighter or Out of This World. You know, these games that weren't made by Nintendo, but were still on the system.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Oh, look at that. Now, I'm just hoping that since there's no Zelda this year, that they're like, for the holidays, we have a Wind Waker HD for Switch and the Twilight Princess HD for Switch. Because the two of them are just sitting there ready to go, man.
Yeah.
You know, I had both of those games on the Wii U, and now that I don't have access to the Wii U, they're gone.
Yeah.
And Wind Waker HD was, I still remember, the Wii U version I had was the Wind Waker bundle
Oh wow.
that had the writing on the tablet.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started playing that, the Nintendo Online service was still working for the Wii U, and so you could buy bottles, write actual notes, put it in the bottle, throw it in the ocean, and then like I would go and run a mission, and I'd go back down to the water, and the bottle would float up, pull it. I was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's ingenious. And I hope that if they do bring it back, stuff like that gets activated again. I can't see why not.
No, yeah.
There was one of my favorite games of all time is Xenoblade Chronicles X. And it had this system on it where if you needed supplies or if you needed to recruit people online to help you fight a monster, you could go into this area in your home base that you just saw people mulling around, and you could ask people to help you and whatnot. That was like an integral part of the game because it was connected to like information you got about mining colonies and stuff like that. And when their server shut down, that shut down. And so anytime you would fire up the game, a major component wasn't there. And so I'm really, really hoping, I know I'm definitely not alone here. I know they got Xenoblade Chronicles 3 coming out this year. In between 2 and 3, which is this one, they did put out the original Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered.
Ah.
So what I'm hoping is now 3's out, they're going to remaster X.
Yeah.
Because that still is, in my opinion, one of the best open world games. And a marvel. Did you ever play it?
I have not.
It was, the map for this game, I believe when it came out, was 3 times the size of Skyrim's.
Wow.
And there was like 4 or 5, it's been so long, 4 or 5 different ecosystems that you would have to travel to and set up mining colonies, fight beasts.
If I'm gonna find all
Flying or running in between these different areas, there was no load.
Wow.
It just went from one location to the next. So like when later in the game you buy these mech suits called skells, you literally could get in a skell and fly from one part of the island all the way to the next without anything ever loading.
Wow.
Yeah, and this
That's
is on the
really
Wii U.
impressive.
It was solid graphics. It was on the Wii U. There was a ton of pop-in, but it didn't really have like slow down at all ever. So it was really kind of amazing to me. So I would love to see that kind of reborn. And it's the kind of thing also where it's like, listen, I know you have a relationship with Microsoft because their games are on your system. Give them the rights to Xenoblade Chronicles X so they can put it on the Xbox. Because if they put money behind it, it would give them a JRPG with name recognition. And knowing what they could do with that game, it would give them one of the best JRPGs on any system, period.
Yeah.
And so it's like, Nintendo, if you're not going to do it, allow someone else to do it, especially somebody with deep pockets like your friends.
Yeah. For anybody who didn't see, I've beaten this game 4 times.
Oh my
This
gosh.
is technically on the hardest difficulty.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
It don't look like it.
I know.
As long as our little incident escaped the mayor's attention.
What was I going to say?
Bidding tomorrow?
Definitely. It'll go great.
I have this sad thing about me now. and I'm assuming it has to do with age,
See you tomorrow.
that I'll actually have time to play a video game. And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna totally play this game. 5 minutes into playing, I'm like, I should watch a movie. Where it's like, the old me would just die to have time to play. You know? I would desperately look to play. And now I get that time, and I'm like, meh. And it's really only been like 7-ish years, because it was when Ethan was born that I put those 400 hours into Xenoblade Chronicles X. Because whenever he napped, he wanted to nap like on me. And so he would take a 3-hour nap, and I'd be sitting there with the TV on and my little tablet mining for ore. And before you know it, what, 72 or something, I can't remember. It was just sad that I've hit that point where I thought, they've been video games have been part of my life for my whole life. I mean, I still remember going back to the fights my brothers and I would get over the Atari 2600, because we always had this deal at my dad's that each got a turn. You got to play one game. When you died, it would go to the next person. So I would play, and I would die right away. And every game, because I was terrible, I was only like 4. My middle brother, he would play, he would last, 40 minutes. Then my older brother would get it, and he would put on Asteroids on the Atari 2600, because he knew that he could flip that game over and over and over. And he would play, no joke, for like 4 hours on one game. And he didn't even want to. I think he did it also to make us mad. Because he knew we were not getting our opportunity. And that caused a lot of fights.
I bet it did.
That's it? I feel like the whole
Just the idea that you only get to play until you die.
Yeah.
The stakes have never been higher.
I think about it sometimes. I was one of those dummies that fell victim to GameStop and EB Games with the whole trading in your old stuff. And some of the stuff that I traded in,
That'll do it. Map should be
I would be a
recalibrated.
very wealthy man, because I always kept my stuff in like
Not much
pristine
time
condition.
since quitting the Bugle. Forgot how much I
I
enjoyed it.
mean,
Should keep an eye out for more
so much
landmarks
stuff.
to shoot.
OG Game Boy, Game Gear,
Oh man.
the Star Wars Nintendo 64 with the
Hello?
came with the Pod Racer game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like a black box with Watto's face on it. I had that. I had the launch PS2,
Just let me know when you're
launch
ready.
Vita, or not Vita, PSP. I had a launch 360
Okay.
Wow.
some time to
because I didn't get the
see what's happening
PS3
out in the city.
until the price dropped, and they went to the Slim. Because it was like $500 when it launched. I'm like, hey,
Oh yeah, I remember
yeah,
that.
I'm not doing that shit. The Wii, I had the launch Wii. Then I did get a DS Lite. Game Boy Advance, Game Boy SP. Like, pretty much most systems over the last 20 years, I at one time owned. And then I would play all the games for it and get bored and say, I want to play games on this one. And I would trade it in.
Yeah.
And I look back now and I'm like, fucking dummy. I lost so much money over the years doing that, but it almost came like an obsession. It's like, oh, I gotta have the new thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do anything. I'll trade this in.
I'll get rid of this. Yeah, I don't need this anymore. I'm never going to use it again. I just did that earlier today when I was cleaning out my hard drive to make room for this. I had a bunch of movies that had been acquired on the high seas, if you will. And I was looking through them and being like, well, I own all of these, I might say legitimately. And I don't need them on this drive anymore, but there was this compulsion to keep them for the nostalgia
Do you know how
sake.
I know there was a compulsion? Because there was a tone when you said, and I wiped it for this. I'm like, whoa! I totally get it, though.
Yeah, no, it was the end of an era. A lot of stuff got purged. And the one thing that will never be purged, though,
What?
is a buddy of mine made a sweeted cut of Star Wars that has none of the new stuff. And it's
Okay.
all the original cut. So it's as close to the original cut as you can get. Which, if you know Star Wars, you can't find anymore.
A good friend of mine, years ago, when I started my addiction with buying movies, I had bought the very first letterboxed VHS copies of the Star Wars trilogy, and this was years before the remakes. So these were the OGs. And one of my good friends was going away to college, and I'm like, dude, you just have this. So he has this box, and it's one of those nice ones where it's like a rectangle, and it has the slip cover you take off, and it has the faces. But yeah, I'm happy he has them and enjoys them and shows his kids. But a part of me is like, holy shit, to have the letterbox VHS versions of the original cuts.
Yeah.
I haven't looked it up. I have not brought myself to try to look it up to see how much it'll cost. Like how much you can get it like on eBay or something like that.
Yeah, no, I remember that box set because my parents had one. I think the exact same one. And, man, VHS, Betamax, I'll take you back.
I remember I was so confused when I was a little kid and I first saw like VCR tapes.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are there two sizes?
Yeah.
And why is that one so small? I had no idea what that was going on. And then I heard about the whole Betamax VHS thing. And I'm pretty sure I was too young when I read the article about how VHS won because of porn.
I don't know this story.
You don't know that?
I don't know that.
The reason VHS won over Betamax is because VHS was cheaper to record on because it was lower quality. And so porn completely went to VHS. And since, like the internet right now, the most searched site I think is Pornhub. Back in the day, the most bought VHSs were porn.
Wow.
And so Betamax just went out of business. Yes.
The back room was born.
I was gonna say, do you know why we have VHSs as much as we do besides that? Mr. Rogers.
Oh, was it?
So he advocated for at-home recording devices so that families could record shows so they could watch them together later.
Oh.
So he was a big proponent for at-home recording.
So to go Mr. Rogers.
So porn and Mr. Rogers.
Porn and Mr. Rogers.
Two great tastes that go great together.
Oh God, don't say that. There's got to be a porn out there like "Welcome to My Neighborhood" with like a penis sticking out.
Absolutely, 1,000,000% there's a Mr. Rogers porn out there somewhere. I don't want to know it.
No, I don't want to know it either.
But I'm sure it exists.
How did we get on the Mr. Rogers porn tangent? What the hell were we talking about?
We were talking about VHS.
Oh, that's right.
Ah, it's hitting you.
I still have some VHS. Oh no, it's hit me a long time ago.
Yeah.
I still have some. When my grandfather passed, he had this collection of all westerns, and so I do have a decent amount of VHSs.
I remember when I went to college across the state, I was like, oh, I need to bring a VCR because I need to be able to record stuff on TV. And it's like, you dummy. You're not going to need that. Don't. Stop.
Is there any kind of fast travel?
You can fast travel. I'm just really bad about doing it. You have to unlock all the map spots to fast travel to them.
Okay.
So if I wanted to, I could just fast travel up to Harlem.
You wouldn't deny a man being able to swing through Manhattan, would
Yeah,
you?
this is my only time in Manhattan these days.
Well, I understand you're a swinger, buddy. Just do it.
I know. Listen, it's a compulsion. It goes deeper than just...
Okay. Okay, we gotta stop this. I've had too many licorice.
So I think we should call it a show for the listening audience.
Yes.
And we'll just keep going on our own, doing this.
All right, folks. This was a very interesting episode 50. This proves that we work our best when we have a set schedule.
Yes.
Stuff to talk about.
When we know what we're doing ahead of time.
I had fun, damn it. I don't care if you
I had
did.
fun.
There we go. Well, that was episode 50, Nerdpod Generations. Make sure to check us out, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Find me at staylarbooks.com.
You can find me at Jutsumstudios.work under the Bronx Division tab. And we'll see you next week, friends and enemies.
Boy.